Hello, my name is Kate Maloney, and I'm the Executive Director of the Infosys Foundation USA. Welcome to our Infi Ed Talk series in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month. I'm thrilled to introduce you to my guest, who is a friend, longtime friend of the Foundation, Antonio Tijerino. He is CEO and President of the Hispanic Heritage Foundation. Welcome, Antonio.
Hola, Kate. Wonderful to be here with you.
Nice to have you. So, Antonio, the Hispanic Heritage Foundation works to address a number of issues across the country, but it seems of late you're putting even increased attention to promoting access to technology for Latinx students. Could you give me a sense of why that's become a more critical investment area for Hispanic Heritage Foundation?
Well, I'm going to give a lot of credit to Infosys Foundation USA because we're often driven by the vision and by the purpose of our partners. And Infosys has definitely, for years, guided us into that direction, as well as the workforce. And I've always said that what we want to be able to provide with our organization is the value proposition that our Latino community gives to America. And one of those ways is to work backwards from what the greatest needs of our country are, specifically in the workforce and in education. And if we're able to do that through a focus in an area that there's a big gap for America's workforce and in education, it allows us to demonstrate that value very specifically. And our programs have been built around filling that gap. And we're thrilled to be able to work with partners like Infosys Foundation in a nuanced way, in demonstrating that value in Spanish as well as in English, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But just very grateful for the guidance and advice and support that we've received.
That's a great lead-in, Antonio, to the program that we are fully engaged in, which is our Coding as a Second Language program, or CSL and Espanol. So the foundation loves this project, and it also is one of those that clearly the Hispanic Heritage Foundation has thought is critical to English language learners. Can you give us a little more sense of what's happening with the CSL and Espanol program and who you intend it to really reach?
I always defer to the people that run the program when it comes to program questions. So I like being the dumbest guy in the room and in the organization. But one of the things that really inspired us in this space was when we were doing our Code as Second Language program to a group of recent immigrant youth. And they were in high school and none of them spoke a word of English. They actually were taking they were English language learners, and after we did our academy, they actually in the surveys that we did after the program, several wrote that English was a lot more difficult to learn than coding, and that's when we realized that there was this great need and also this great opportunity for young English language learners to be able to learn coding at the same time, and probably at a more accelerated rate. And that's when we were able to expand that thanks to Infosys Foundation and a partnership that we have with Tinker as well. What I love is being able to get beyond just teaching coding in English, that you have to adapt to the communities that you're trying to reach. You have to adapt to the individuals that you're trying to reach. And this was I think one of the first times that it was actually enveloped within a curriculum at schools, as well as involving the teachers, which is important too. So the program has gone very, very well. I also love that we're doing beyond that public awareness campaigns on the importance of learning coding in Spanish. So I'll give you an example. We did research with the Student Research Foundation and found that there was, beyond the other gaps that you have, one of the biggest ones we identified through this research was of middle and high school students was a confidence gap, a role model gap. And I'm very proud to say that with Infosys Foundation, we're launching and a program where we're trying to fill that gap, and not only with Latinas that are within our own network and Latinos within our own network that are excelling in STEM, that are close to the same age as the students, but also with public figures like Nati Natasha, who has done PSAs in English and in Spanish to support the CSL and Espanol with Infosys Foundation, as well as the young woman who plays Ashley Garcia on Netflix show Expanding Universe of Ashley Garcia, Paulina Chavez, who has also worked with Infosys Foundation and Hispanic Heritage Foundation to be able to promote the importance of coding in Spanish, because she plays a genius tech worker who is, I think, as a teenager, she works for NASA, and that's a really important thing for people like my daughter, who is 9 years old, to be able to identify and like science and technology, because they see someone playing that role on a very popular young TV show.
Yeah, the issue that you mentioned, Antonio, about inclusivity, like truly, if we are going to be culturally inclusive and addressing, like you say, the massive population of Spanish speakers in the country, we need to have programs like coding in Spanish. So this is, our own foundation demonstrates or tries to demonstrate our commitment to diversity and inclusion across all communities. So I think the CSL and Espanol program in particular, we're so excited to see what results come of it as we launch now, like in the coming months. And it's like you jumped into my head about the gender issue and this confidence gap. It's very interesting to us that you strategically chose 2 women to promote the CSL and Espanol program. And our foundation we had Ashley Garcia this summer for one of our Pathfinders Institutes, and she was terrific, gave a great message that resonated with our population. And we're just excited to be a part of that movement that opens the eyes, the opportunity to girls to not be, especially Latina girls, to not be intimidated by technology, to jump in and know that computer science and STEM is equally for them.
Yes, I always see it as not just a lost opportunity for the amazing youth and the talent that is out there. It's a lost opportunity for the United States as a country to be able to tap this talent, which is what you're saying. And to be able to do it in Spanish, again, we work with a lot of organizations. I just am so proud of our partnership with Infosys Foundation, because there's almost 5 million children in public schools that are learning English right now. And to be able to tap that remarkable pool of talent and start developing at this age will bear fruit in years to come. Again, for the country, for corporate America, and certainly for different communities like the Latino community to be able to do that.
We're always talking about the importance of digital literacy if we're going to have that workforce that you mentioned that has the right skills for the future. And these kids are savvy, no matter what language they're speaking. They understand their phones, they understand their computers. So what's really cool is that they can kind of leapfrog that language barrier and go right into something that does intuitively make sense to them. So I think it's going to be really interesting for us to watch and see how this program takes off and how we help, open the doors for these students in their journey here in the US. So another program, just switching gears a little bit, but to a complementary program that we partner on, the Latinos on the Fast Track. I love this name, the LOFT program. I'm curious a little bit more on the personal side, Antonio, about this program. Like it's all about opening the eyes and making connections for young students about their professional opportunities. What jobs are there? How do they connect to them? But what do you think is the real impact of that program? What do you see on a personal level from it?
On a personal level, it actually started after 5 years of our Youth Award program, where we were identifying and working with the top young talent coming out of high school that I've ever seen. After about 5 years, they were looking for jobs and calling us saying, I'm looking for graduating from the top schools in the country in fields that America was dying to fill. And then you had companies that were calling me going, we don't have access to this great talent. Can you help us? So Latinos on Fast Track was put together in that spirit over 15 years ago. What has happened since then is that it's evolved into being led by the actual community that we're serving. So Code as Second Language was actually a suggestion by somebody that was from our network, a young man that had won our youth award back in 2000, and he's now my chairman for my organization. He's our chair of the board. And so he actually said, we should be in the tech space. There's nobody really in that space. And then we got it going with a pilot in LA that he led. And then here we are now. It's going to be 100,000 students that will have been taught or introduced to coding by the end of next year. And so that's how things evolve. In terms of the workforce piece, it's just matchmaking, Kate, and the importance of being able to make it easier for these companies or for the industry to access the talent and building confidence that they're accessing top talent. There's this notion that we can't find them. Well, tell you what, you can't find really good hamburger meat in a vegetarian restaurant either. So you have to know where to look and what you're looking for and really be thoughtful about it. And at the same time, you have these young people that don't necessarily have that pathway to connecting with some of these industries and some of these companies. So if we're able to bridge that helps us. So I'll give you an example. We're doing a program right now that's called Hacking a Career During and Post-COVID. And most of it is based on tech. And we work with our partners to be able to get guidance in terms of what are those trends? What are those jobs that are actually hiring right now? But, we're trying to be really nuanced with how we're doing it. Like where they're actually working through what this industry or what this particular space looks like. So we're doing one that's coming up that's going to be on blockchain. That's an area that normally you don't address specifically like that, but we're going to do a whole session as part of that series on that. And then we also are placing talent with companies, and that is a very gratifying thing. There's 5 huge companies, tech companies, where our contact with those companies is someone we placed there over the last 5 years. Nothing can be more gratifying than that the actual talent is now your contact and inroad to the company, because they're a walking, talking testimonial. But we are also very dependent on the companies themselves to come up with these strategies with us. And because it has to be geared toward what the industry needs and what the company needs. And I have to tell you, Infosys and Infosys Foundation are some of the most forward-thinking companies in terms of getting results and working through the talk to get to the actual action, to make sure that the workforce is bolstered by diversity, and especially the Latino community. It's a win for both sides, and it always needs to be that way in order to be sustainable.
Well, I think the LOFT Coder Summit that we did host in Texas, where we had a number of young people coming into the Infosys office, that's the kind of breaking down of barriers that our foundation is trying to tackle, bringing more of the community in to demystify what are these jobs, what are the opportunities, and equally to open the eyes to current employees back to the community to see the range of diverse talent. And when we think about the Latinx community, a number of them are first or second generation. Their network is relatively new. And when we come to talking about networking and giving you that introduction that helps to get you a job, that isn't as easily found perhaps in that community as in others. So these connection points of breaking down those walls and making those connections and brokering those introductions, I think gives a lot of positive energy back to our Infosys Foundation team, because it helps us live up to our diversity and inclusion commitment. So I'm excited to continue, frankly, with our our partnership on the LOFT Coder Summits piece. And yeah, couldn't kind of echoing everything you've just shared.
But the Coder Summit's a perfect example. So thank you for mentioning that. That we're very proud of doing that with you guys. And what it brought together was, like you said, that limited network, that kind of nascent approach to the tech industry was suddenly accelerated. Talk about Latinos on fast track. The minute they walked into that room, you should see the mail that we got, the emails that we get from them in terms of their reaction. They were now connected in a way that made them feel vital, made them feel relevant, made them feel like they're on a path. And half the time, you just need somebody to believe in you to be successful and have that confidence, and also have that acceptance that Infosys was saying, we welcome you into this network. And the other thing was that I really appreciate that Infosys Foundation did was to bring them together with each other. So one thing is that networking where they are able to connect with somebody that's in the industry that is part of your company. There's another part to it. They're connecting with each other. They're building those relationships that'll continue for many years to come. And they also see themselves in each other, because they're coming from, I remember that one. They were coming from disparate areas within a part of Texas, and they were coming from all different parts of Texas. So now they suddenly are connected to each other through social media and through their own methods, to be able to share ideas and also kind of spur each other forward to hopefully get into those AP courses in computer science, and then go to college, and even if not go to college, be able to take some of those boot camps and other things that will get them on that pathway. So that's one thing that I can say about Infosys Foundation. You are not myopic in terms of your approach to diversity and to making sure that your workforce is bolstered. You want to make sure that you're laying that groundwork that's going to bear fruit, even if it's years to come, but it's in a thoughtful way. And so I just really appreciate that, especially in today's time.
Well, you've been very complimentary of our foundation. I want to also make sure.
I'm a fan.
Oh, well, that's clear and great. We take it. But also for those who are going to be watching this interview too, I want to make sure like we exist as a facilitator. It's to unlock and match that talent and empower the next generations. That's what really gets us motivated. Antonio, I appreciate your time. And more than that, the partnership between both of our foundations. I think we have some good goals to attack in the year to come. But for Hispanic Heritage Month, it's been a pleasure to have time with you. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for everything. We're very much looking forward to launching all of these programs and seeing their impact, and then obviously working with you to be able to build on them. So thank you for everything you do. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month, everybody.
Yes.
All right. Bye-bye.